For me, it's that their lives are so exaggerated because they're very vulnerable to the world being. If they go in the sun, they die, but they can live forever. So everything's stretched out. Grudges go on for centuries, and if they can't get over a relationship, that goes on for how say when my grandfather died, my grandmother went out with her boyfriend from when she was 18, because people still...
Is that true?
Yeah. So people still people keep people in their mind if things ever open up for me again, maybe when I'm 70 I could, Taika called me up and said, this guy wants to make this TV show out of the movie.
The guy, his name was Scott Rudin.
He's a very powerful guy. We think we have to do
this
it.
This guy keeps calling me up at 3 a.m. and demanding that we make this TV show.
You said
and
to
I'm
me,
getting really scared of him.
Yeah, you said to me, he scares me. You got to have the meeting, and I'm like, it.
And made you go do the meeting.
And I said, well, if he scares you, should we not do the meeting? And he's like, no, he's scarier than that.
Yeah, you have to do it.
Scary enough that you have to.
He's almost like a vampire because he was using hypnosis at 3 a.m. on me
when you're vulnerable.
Yeah, when I was waking up and going,
I think he watches.
Okay, sure, I'll do a TV show.
I think he has one of his assistants looking over our sleep patterns and finding when they're most susceptible to suggestion.
And then we agreed to do the TV show, and then as soon as that happened, I got Thor, and I abandoned the TV show and left Jemaine to do it by himself. But I've still come here to promote it.
No, I feel like by the time Jemaine talked to me about doing it, he'd had it pretty much worked out. That it was going to be the same universe. It wasn't going to be New Zealand. It was going to be America. It was going to be Staten Island.
We had a lot of discussion about where it would be, actually. It went on for a long time.
Detroit was considered Chicago. Pennsylvania was...
Because it sounds like Transylvania. What do you think of that, if it was Pennsylvania, because they thought it sounded like Transylvania?
That's pretty good. We should
have done that.
Oh, wow.
Staten Island, well, we wanted to film in beautiful New York.
And we also felt like we wanted to be in New York, but the vampires...
Shot in Toronto.
The vampires wouldn't have made it all the way to Manhattan out of laziness and out of just sloth. Hadn't really gotten to the big glitzy part of New York yet.
Yeah, and also there's blocks of quite old mansions in Staten Island.
That you can believe they would have lived in for 200 years. There's a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
I mean, there's things from literature. There's things from other movies. There's things from TV shows.
We got a lot of research material. Not what you would think. A lot of books. A lot of vampire encyclopedias.
Stephanie's our book person.
I'm the book person, the one that reads books. There was a lot of that, right? There was a lot of the science of vampire. I'm a very learned woman.
There was a lot of discussion also about internet. Every culture, every international culture has some version of their vampire mythos, if I may.
You may.
A blood drinking character in a lot of, all through Asia, of course, Eastern Europe, and we read a lot of books about vampire lore. Traditional, not books, maybe web pages, but we about their powers and stuff, and we talked about how it would work out in this.
I remember writing it, and most of the scenes that were written that you wrote involving your character usually involved your character.
One scene.
Your character has a very big obsession with orgies.
One
orgy. I'll say. Your character.
One brief or very
that
brief
particular
orgy.
Character you play.
3-person orgy. One scene. It's always it's always awkward because you're getting other people to be naked and around, and we're just writhing around, and then
you turn up on set and there's these girls and they don't know what they're doing there, and then you go, well, I'll just lie down with you guys and you just writhe around me.
So when we're in
as if we're sort of, and then you're
the other thing is
with me, and
because in the movie in the movie, usually if one of us is in a scene, we'd get directed by the other person. So Taika's always like, okay, so Jemaine, so you guys are going to be, what is it you want them to do? in the scene when that you wrote.
What is it? How did you imagine this playing out? So they are obsessed with you and writhing around all over you.
I never used that word, obsessed. I may have used writhing. It's possible.
It's possible. It's very possible.
Possibility.
If you liked the movie, you'll be very satisfied at the end of the first season of the show.
And it's our universe.
Where do you think your vampires?
It might be a crossover.
Yeah, well, in New York, where do you think your vampires? Just if you had to guess, where would they like to spend most time?
Our vampires.
Yeah.
Jermaine's character? Well, the Museum of Sex, quite obviously.
Very clearly.
I've never been there, but my character is there.